My guest today is Toni Bergins, who's an embodiment trailblazer. She has taught at the premier holistic healing centers for the last 27 years. She is on the faculty at the Kripalu Center for Yoga and Health and has worked there as a movement artist, dance educator, expressive arts workshop leader, and expert in creating transformational workshops. In today's episode, Toni discusses her new book, Embody, Feel, Heal, and Transform Your Life Through Movement. Welcome to LIFEOLOGY.
Thank you so much. Such a pleasure to be here.
We had such a great talk in the pre-call, so I know you and I are fast friends already, so we're gonna have a wonderful conversation. So dance, so embodiment. I know. So it's the embodiment aspect, the movement aspect of it. Sometimes people don't realize the power in that. And so I'm going to come from a psychological approach. You're going to come from an educator as well. So we're going to where those two intersect is going to be the topic of the conversation today. So when it comes to movement, what does that mean? Like let's qualify that, quantify that. What does movement mean for you?
For me, movement means a freedom of expression, like a free, embodied, just that you're so in your body that movement is natural. It's not like, it's not just walking or driving or, doing the things with your fingers. It's actually engaging the whole body. It's dance. It's really dance. But I don't like to say dance because then people associate dance with step right, step left, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then they get all shut down. I'm like, I can't dance. I'm like, but you can move. So movement is this.
So it's interesting because some cultures really, they move their hands a lot, they move their neck. I mean, they move themselves all the time. So in that is a natural expression for people to have movement, but they might realize that they're actually doing what we're going to talk about today. For some people who don't do that as much, is that more of just is it just how they've been brought up, raised, or why do you think that some people don't even express themselves in just even conversation?
Oh, absolutely. I think it has to do with all kinds of emotional material that we're holding, repressing. How do you stay small? How do you stay quiet? How do I stay in the background? How do I not make a big noise or be too much? And we have so many messages in the culture about being too much and all that. So especially people who are very exuberant, they get shut down, be quiet. You go. And I mean, when I was a kid in school, oh my God, how many times I got punished for being noisy or loud or funny or whatever. I was like such a troublemaker. And it was like, I'm just being myself. What's the problem? Why is this wrong? She's hyper. She's this, she's that. You just get it. So we shut down our natural, you see how children are. They're just naturally moving all the time. Everything is just, and it's a quick shake off. It's a quick emotion. Everything that children have is something that we should be, aiming towards, so that we can actually say, I could just feel this emotion and shake it off. Move quickly through it and feel it and cry and let it out and then just keep moving instead of it becoming the stuck thing. That's life. That's why we have psychotherapy. That's why we have all the practice so we can undo our adulting.
Yes, I know, exactly. So in psychology, we teach that whatever we think about determines what we feel. What we feel determines what our body does. People don't realize that emotions are energy. So thoughts create the emotional understanding of our place in the world. And then the emotions is a form of energy. So it translates to our body. So it either translates to our body through different chemical exchanges, or it translates our body through movement. That's why people can yell, because it's the expression of the air through their lungs. People, they punch something. It's the expression of, the energy through punching something. People may move. People may do many different types of things. So we don't realize that we're always moving, and our body will automatically allow us to do it. But when you're talking about how to do that all the time in a way that just allows your body, it just burns off all the emotions in a way that's kind of like your metabolism. And so I think it's important that people realize they always do it regardless. They just don't understand the concepts of it. So you'll definitely help us through that. One other thing that I find fascinating is, so I won't get too technical, but every person has a form of self-soothing behavior. When we're children, we use our self-soothing behaviors through our 5 senses. So what we see, what we hear, what we smell, what we taste, and what we feel. I think I got this. So what happens is all the different aspects of that. So when we're adults, many of us don't take our self-soothing behavior as a child. That made sense. So we ate a lot as a child. So that was our sense of touch or taste. Right. And so from that's why people overeat at times, because they haven't taken that self-soothing behavior from an infant and haven't matured it to the adult version of themselves. My whole point in saying that is a sense of touch is a sense of movement. So if people are on the phone and they're talking and then they're doodling, well, that's a sense of touch, which is the way that they self-soothe and the concepts we're talking about. So the form of movement is part of a self-soothing behavior. So it's important for people to realize that it is a healthy thing, that sometimes we have a natural default for that many people do. And sometimes people don't have a natural version of it, but our 5 senses always incorporate some type of self-soothing component. So I just want to throw that out there for people when they realize self-soothing behavior is part of your 5 senses. And this is something, definitely that we all practice as well. When it comes to embodiment, how do you help people get to the place of letting go of how do I look when I move?
Oh, wow. Well, I think one of the things that I do best, just because I'm such a character, is that I have a little comedy in everything I do. It's not very
Okay.
serious. You don't walk in, you're like, let's get really serious. It is a little serious because I'm saying like, now we're all going to roll around the floor. And they're like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
I'm
Yes.
like, I said, don't worry. I've been doing this for years and years. We're just going to roll around on the floor and just like let your whole body start. And I take people through these very simple processes to get them
Yeah.
into their skin, right? Then we move into the spine.
Yes.
Okay, we're all going to get, and we're gonna undulate our bodies. We're gonna pulsate. They're like, what? Like, yeah, it's fun. Go pulsate next to somebody. I like to make it a little comical, and then
Yeah.
we really get into the deeper work. And I take people
Yes.
into the body, and it's not through visual. I mean, yes, there is a visual component if you can see me and follow me or whatever teacher you're studying with, but it's not like you have to get a certain movement correct in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's not that. It's just look at your hands, find your way in. How do you see how your fingers, your knuckles, your pinky, how does it move? How does it connect into the rib cage? How does it go into, and I start getting you into your body in a totally visceral way without
Yes.
any, there's no right and wrong. There's no copy unless you want to copy, which is no problem. But because we naturally mimic each other's movements. Like you and I were already like in this kind of flow where
I know, right? I noticed that too.
Yeah, it's probably our self-soothing techniques we're doing. But it's you know what I mean? But it's part of that. And then I bring people into like touch your own, touch your arms, touch your heart, rub circles. And we start to like, we're doing a lot of self-soothing just in the very beginning. Because what happens is most people are out of their body in a slight way. I call it, just to be funny, I tried to come up with some, different words than disassociated. So I call it the escape hatch, right? We're like up here in the little escape hatch. And, I learned about this years and years ago in my 20s that I was not really there. Like I was there, I was in my body, walking around, doing life, but I wasn't, I don't know how to describe it. I wasn't
Present.
I wasn't, and I wasn't feeling, I was in a numbed out state. I was using exercise, I was using food or drugs. I'm sure all the things that you do when you're in your 20s to just stay slightly out because I didn't want to be in here and have to feel everything that was going on because it's hard. Growing up is not easy. And we have a lot of bumps along the way and we have traumas and things that happen and stories and our parents and we have incidences and events and it's a whole thing. So to get back into the body, to be able to be like, oh, I'm here right now is such a beautiful presencing. And it's actually very soothing, usually, to be in the moment. It's much better than being in the past. And being in the future also keeps you out of, I mean, some people love the past because they have like, that was like their favorite time.
Nostalgia.
But what if you could bring that into this moment and say, I can make my favorite time right now? Most people think that their time has come and it has passed. And I'm like, no. Your time is just right here. You don't have to live like that. You can remember that right now in this moment, I can be in this new moment and make this my best moment. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
That's my goal.
Yes.
So when I get people into the body, then I take them through a process. So it's first I get them into their body in like a fun, light kind of a little bumpy way, but it does bump up into their inhibitions because we are going to be seen maybe or not. You can do it in your own house on Zoom; it's no problem. So it's a slow process, and then you get into the fun, and you start really dancing and start moving. We play music, and everyone's looking at each other like, "Oh wow, this actually looks fun," and I'm that fun too. If I see fun, I am fun, right?
Yes.
You project exactly what you are. If you think that person is amazing, then you're amazing. It's part of life. So I teach people how to say, like, dance with someone and say, "You're so amazing," and they say, "You're so amazing," and they say, "Thank you very much," and then we start to feel this great feeling. That's energy and motion. You talk about emotions, right? That's the joy emotion. My new thing is joy could be your baseline emotion. What if joy could be the emotion that you feel so often that then when you feel the other emotions, you're like, okay, I know this emotion. I know sadness. I know anger. I know all the layers, right? But I could always go back to joy. All I have to do is have it in my cells, have it in my memories, just like a soothing technique. I can put music on and come back to joy. Music. So music is my best friend. I have been this close with music my whole life. We are married. I'm in love with music.
Yes. Some of the things you've said, I want to kind of piggyback off that. So at the very beginning, when you said you create the fun things, you kind of roll around and through laughter, people don't realize that when we create laughter, what our brain releases what's called oxytocin. Oxytocin is that feel-good hormone, which helps us feel connected, trust somebody, and just really be at peace. And so that's why a real quick tidbit. Any hug that's lasting longer than 20 seconds, first off, a consensual hug lasting longer than 20 seconds allows for people to release oxytocin, so it helps people reset. So that's a good thing to know for people in relationships. Yeah, exactly. Self-hug as well. Yeah, exactly. And so I love the fact that you ground people. And so grounding or anchoring is what we talk about in psychology, because so many times I can be in my head. And so it's important to know how to flex back and forth. If I'm in a crowd of like a really big crowd of people and I get overwhelmed by my senses, then I go in my head and I use my self-talk. James, you're okay. Nothing's wrong. Everything's fine. But when I get in my head too much and life overwhelms me, well, I need to do what you do and ground myself in my reality. What do I see? What do I feel? What do I touch? And so using your five senses to really pull oneself into the moment allows for us to experience that aspect of I'm only have to look at right now and I'll be mindful and present right now. I also like the aspect of when you have people talk to each other as well. And, sometimes people feel as if they live their life and that their best was in the past. The cool thing about this is when a person anchors themselves, as they're in their mind, they can anchor themselves to their emotions and they revisit a memory that they've had, something that's really powerful. When they relive it in their mind, in their mind's five senses, or even the present, it actually creates a huge hit of dopamine. And so going back to your joy aspect, when that dopamine is created, dopamine is found to be able to, it's one of those feel-good chemicals, neurotransmitters. It creates motivation, drive, joy. And so when people can do what you're doing and holistically hold on to that, the hit of dopamine that they get is going to be so profound and so great. And so you do this naturally. You teach people, it may not know all the technical terms, which doesn't matter because all it matters is that they feel good. And so the new baseline for joy is there. And so then when people can practice this all the time and use their ability to stay anchored and then take a great emotion or memory that they may have from you or something in their past, and they can really envision it now. We take the past and move it to the present.
I love that. And what you're talking about. So I call it state recognition because music can bring you there in an instant. So like if I play a song like, everybody dance now, whatever, I'm not going to play that, but I might play that, right? Then you're immediately like, oh, that's my song. That's the song. Remember that song? It could be like, can't stop the feeling or whatever it could be, and people just drop right back in. So I send my playlist out always and I'm saying, use this for state recognition. And maybe there's a place you want to be that you never go. Maybe there's a really tender place that you never go, that you just get access to because you've danced this heart dance with me or something, or a heart dance with one of the journey dance teachers, and you're talking to your heart. I do psychodrama as well. So I use scarves as representations of different things. So one of my common things is the heart dance. So it's one of the most beloved things in journey dance is when you get to the heart dance and you've gone through this whole process. It's like a hero's journey. So we did the embodiment part, we get everyone to their body. Now we're going into the emotional, upheaval and the chaos and the alchemy, but we end up at the heart. And at the heart, the music is sometimes so moving. People start crying and that's a good thing. People are like, why would I want to go to a dance class and cry? Well, because when do you ever get to release those emotions in a safe container where no one's judging you, you're not hurting anyone, no one feels guilty for making you cry. Like there's nothing to, it's just you and you. And I have you hold yourself like in your arms, like as if you were, the little one, and you get to talk to yourself or listen, and then the music. And then when you rehear that song again, you're like, oh my God, I love myself. I forgot.
Yes. Wow, just even I can feel the emotion right now. I'm like, I'm gonna cry right now. It's real quick when it comes to crying. There's actually scientists often think there's three different types of tears. There's emotional tears, stress tears, and lubricating tears. And so when people don't realize that crying is actually one of the most healthy things you can do, because remember, our thoughts create our emotions. Emotion tells our body what to do. So when emotions well up, so it translates to emotional tears. And so you want to cry and release that because it gets rid of so many different toxins, so many different chemicals you don't need at the time, because too much of that causes cortisol levels, to be spiked. And so important to cry. So often people say real men don't cry. Well, that's pretty foolish, because the more healthy, the more you cry, the more healthy you are, because all the toxins are relieved from your body. So, when people cry, just keep in mind that's wonderful. So I'm glad the platform that you create allows people to truly get in line with that, to truly be healed in so many different ways. Psychodrama. Tell me more about, I know what psychodrama is, but tell some of my listeners what that means.
Well, when we say psychodrama, I've studied a lot of different forms of psychodrama, from playback theater to shadow work to family constellations. And what you do is you take the internal world and you externalize it. So you get to see it in front of you. So the way I use it is I'll say, tell your story to the dance floor. So you'll just start moving your body, whatever's going on in your life. It doesn't have to it could be, grief movement. It could be really intense. It could be anger. We could do, and you just let it move. And that's like a theater. It's a theater. It's not like you're actually, you're not talking, no one's watching you, you're all watching your own dance. And it's externalizing it. So it's not like stuck inside of you anymore. That's
Yes.
the beauty of psychodrama. So what I
Yes.
do is I use this thing called projective object, where then I'll have a scarf that becomes your dream, and you dance with your dream, and you take it through the space, and you feel like joy while you're dancing with your dream, and you imagine living this dream, kind of like a Joe Dispenza meditation where you're going to live into the future. So I use
Yes.
that. I use the heart, and I have a lot of different these little techniques. So another way I use what I call psychodrama is, well, it's called psychodrama, is I do something called like splits, I say step into your higher power. So here you'd be like, I am me, I am the inner therapist, I'm the inner wise one, I'm the guide, and then here I'm the sad part, I'm the broken, which is not really broken, what we identify as broken. I'm the part that's abandoned, I'm the part, and then we dance. This dance happens where I pick up my part, I talk to it. We can do all kinds of cool things on the dance floor because you're in an altered state because of the music. It's like there's a landscape, and your senses. So you talked about the senses, right? Your body is in the feeling sense. Your ears, you're receiving material from the music, and you're hearing the guidance. So you're able to visualize what's happening. It's such an amazing process. I feel like over all the years, it's hypnotherapy, really, in a sense.
Yeah. It's interesting you said that. I was thinking about all the different psychological terms for my knowledge, because I like to intellectualize things at times. What I find most interesting is when it comes to trauma therapies, it's usually not talk-based therapy. So talk-based therapy, it allows for us to understand it through our words. But if something's happened to us as a child, or something that's happened that's so profound, words can't express it. And so like through eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, so EMDR, what that does is you actually look at something. And so when your eyes move between the center of your forehead, so people can't see me, my hands are from my nose up to my scalp. And so it's creating a difference between my left and right brain. And so when our eyes cross that, or any part of our body crosses it, so even my hands moving right now are crossing both sides of my, I'm using both sides of my brain, actively using both sides of my brain. And so dance itself does that, the movement, everything is just creating your left and right brain. And so you really be able to get past any of the words, because we don't have words for a lot of this. So I love how your movement really shows people that you don't have to use words. And so to express yourself just through the movement, even from a neurological standpoint, is going to allow them to be able to access things that they can't access through talk therapy. And so, I mean, this is a wonderful, like I said, I'm so blessed to hear this, because it's so powerful in a lot of ways.
I have stories about that for you.
I bet. I was going to ask you, give me one story. We have, we have about 5 more minutes. Give me another story about something that just really transformed a person's life.
Just, somebody came in and they never shook their body before. They never shook, and shaking is part of one of the qualities I call alchemy, where we just shake and shake and shake, and we get so into it. Like I'm shaking the computer right now. So we shake, and she had a huge release. Like we're talking biggest release. And this was someone who had been in trauma from, I'm not even going to tell you because this is a family friendly show, really upsetting things happened in her childhood that came to the surface. She already knew about them, but she'd never really shaken it out of the body. She never sweat it out. She never released those memories in a visceral way. She did talk therapy. She looked perfect. She was absolutely a fantastic person. I mean, I became very close with her later, and she became one of the teachers of this forum. But basically she processed through this releasing this really intense sexual trauma of her childhood. Yeah. We're talking really deep stuff. And it happens all the time, but it doesn't happen so obviously that people aren't telling me about it. But it happens because it's a natural effect of the shaking, of the movement, because we stir things up and then we calm things down. Right. So by the end, she's like shining like a bright light, like, oh my God, in love with herself. Like, wow, I let myself feel that, because mostly it's permission to let yourself feel something.
Yes.
That's part
Exactly.
of the
Because many times, many emotions we don't want to feel, but we don't realize that not obviously the trauma she went through, but just in general, sometimes we don't feel sadness, loneliness. We don't feel all that, but it's also a reflection of, if I don't feel it, what do I do about it? So sometimes we get lost in the emotion and not realize we have a choice. We have agency to determine what that looks like. However, it is important to realize that those quote negative emotions are there because it causes discomfort in our life. And so when discomfort happens, it teaches us resilience. And so we don't realize that this is an opportunity for me to experience, what does resilience look like for me? So when I'm sad and I'm lonely, whatever it might be, that's an opportunity to say, okay, I feel this. Now, am I this label, or do I do something about it? And so it's important to realize that all the great emotions or happy emotions are fantastic, but the other emotions are just as powerful, and they give us just an expression ability to conceptualize, to understand something. And then from there, we decide, what do I do with it? So am I, what is this, assembly block or a stepping stone?
I love this because, all the emotions, when we reach that pinnacle point where that's when we make a change. That's when you go to the
Yes,
place of
yes,
like, that's when you say, oh my God, I have to try something different. That's when you say, oh, I'm going to do breath work. I'm going to do dance, or I'm going to
yes,
do plant medicine or whatever. Something happens and you decide like, I'm ready to heal, because you can no
yes,
longer bear either being numb or being overly, in the pain. Right. So
yes,
you're right.
yes.
I mean, every emotion is key. One thing I love about journey dance, one of my favorite things, I'm very emotional, so I love to play with emotions. So I have a dance. I mean, I have a dance for anger, and everyone's like, "Rah!" I'm okay with it. A dance for sadness. People are just like, oh yeah, 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 and they're crying
Yeah.
and releasing and letting their pain come out onto the dance floor. And it's like this. It's a container. It's like you're in this space, and
Mm,
it's your space for that time. It's not
mm,
like you're going to carry it with you for every minute of your
yeah.
day afterwards. You're going to just it's going to be experience changes us, right? It's like you become
Yes.
marinated and you become so good at saying, oh yeah, I'm really sad right now about, I'm in the past, I'm thinking about that story. Like you become so
Mm-hmm.
conscious and so aware that
Mm-hmm.
things affect you in a different way, and you have the skill. I think self mastery is what the goal is, right? We
Yeah.
all want to be able to say, I do understand myself, and now I can interact with you in a whole intimate new way, because I don't have to be
Yes.
like hiding who I am and afraid of who I am. I
Yes.
think that's really what
It,
I want, is for everyone to be who they are and like come back to that original sense of that
yes.
beauty. Because I
Yes.
think we all are beautiful, and we've had difficulties.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, exactly. I keep saying I love this because I do love it. The sense of, so many times we have so many ways in which we look at the world, and, the concept of dance therapy or expressive arts, often that's too much of something, and so like you said at the beginning of
Right.
this, people are taught too many different things.
Right.
But how is it for those individuals who are very, I don't say straight laced because that's, how are people who are usually more
I know what
conservative
you
in their
mean.
expression? How is it when they come in there and first off, how do they come in there? Because like, oh my God, I can't believe we're doing this. How do
That's
they,
probably how
how
they
do I
come
say
in.
this? Probably. So like I've heard of this. They try it. Do you see the transformation? So when a person first starts to the end, I suppose, of their journey, how,
Oh
how do you
yeah.
notice the people that are so conservative, and how does it? I guess there's so many questions I want to ask. So they come
Yeah.
in very
And
conservative, and then the first 10 minutes, how do they break away from that mentality?
it's honestly, I think I have to say the music is, as I said, my best
Mm-hmm.
friend, and the music
Mm-hmm.
keeps their mind occupied with the
Good. Good.
melodies and weird sounds.
Mm-hmm.
And I use all kinds of ambient music and just things in
Mm-hmm.
genres you've never heard of. And so people they're like, what is that? It's like you're in a curious state. We take you
Yeah.
out of
Okay.
the, like, I say, like, let's just let go of all judgment and just be curious.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what if I could just
Mm-hmm.
stay a little bit longer? What if I could just allow myself to be silly? Like, who cares? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I try to bring back that childhood innocence
Mm-hmm.
of just curiosity and wonder, how
Yeah.
amazing you are truly. When you hear music, your body wants to move, like you're a
Yes.
vibration.
Yes.
It's not
Yes.
about your
Yes.
body
Yes.
and what it looks like.
Yes.
And the more people who come, the more people come. It's kind of like, it's like that. It's like that, that snowball rolling downhill. Like the more people
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
discover this, the more people come to it, and
Yeah.
just keeps growing and growing. I feel like dance is the next new thing. I mean, you can see it everywhere.
Uh,
I mean, everyone wants to dance.
yeah. Yeah.
Instagram is full of, I mean, TikTok is full of dance, but it's not that kind of dance. It's
Yeah.
like you don't have to be able to do any of that to do this. But when
Mm-hmm.
when you
Mm-hmm.
when you learn how to get into your body, all of a sudden you're going to be like, I'm going to make a TikTok. It's like funny. People you never
That's
imagine
funny.
are like, oh my God, I started a TikTok channel. I'm like, you're kidding me. They're like, no, I
That's
didn't.
hysterical. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah,
I like the
it's
fact you say
fun.
the curious part, because, as children, we're always curious. That's how we learn. And I think sometimes as
Yeah.
adults, we create a life that's very safe, and, there's exploration as well. But, I go to my job,
Yes.
I do this, I do that, and it's very routine. And so in the routine, the curiosity aspect is often lost. And so as
Yes.
children, we're curious
Hmm.
about everything. We ask questions, even inappropriate questions to people. We ask it all
Right.
the time. And so in that, we forget that. So I love that fact that you can get to just say, what if this? And so it allows them to transcend, I suppose, how they currently think, and revert back to a time when they had so many questions. And in that allows
Yeah.
them to be able to access their younger self. And so just be like, they don't really care. It usually, if I remember correctly from my developmental psychology courses that I taught years ago, I think it's 3 to 5 is when it comes to the
Hmm.
ability to find our independence. And when we play, and then in that time, we often think, if I do really well, that's great. But if I don't do well, then I don't want to try anything beyond that. And so usually
Oh,
between 3 and 5 years
I
old, that's
love
really,
that.
really helps us recognize our independence and our ability to be okay with ourselves, to laugh at ourselves. But in that time frame, if we had some some experiences that taught us something different, then that's when we kind of hold on to things and we won't try new things. That's why people are like, oh, I'm better than you. But in their mind, that's just the way to defend themselves because they're not going to try something. So like, I would never do that, but it's because they have that fear component when they're taught when they're kids. Yeah. So to be able to get the curiosity aspect and go back to that 3-year-old self, 3 to 5-year-old, that allows the person to be like, oh my gosh, I get to relearn all this. So, there's so many different ways in which we get to retrain ourselves, but in that as well, I mean, you may not realize I didn't put it together until just now either, but that really allows us to really redefine that 3 to 5-year-old self and relearn how to just be me. And it's okay that I'm okay. I'm okay that if I mess up, according to what other people say, I'm just having fun.
Right. I love that. My 2 rules are there are no mistakes. It's just a dance. You're just learning. And the second rule is don't hurt yourself. That's my big rule. I say, don't hurt yourself because you're going to get so excited. Next thing you know, you're going to be bouncing off the walls. But I say, don't hurt yourself on all levels. Like, so if you're hurting yourself mentally, if you're criticizing yourself and being mean to yourself and you're saying, I can't dance. What am I doing here? This is so stupid. All that stuff. You just let it go. You just say, no, we're not here to hurt ourselves. We're here to explore and see who else we could become. Because I think everyone wants to become more of their truth. I really believe that. I think everyone does. And when they come to it, I mean, I've had men come in just like come to me after class and be like, I'm so embarrassed. I cry. And I was like, you're great. And I'm hugging them, or they're so happy, or they're like, that was so hard for me. Why is that so hard for me? And I'm like, were you judging yourself? Yep. I was judging myself the whole time. I'm a spaz, or I don't look good. I'm like, well, that's part of don't hurt yourself, right? So when we get past that, we just start moving. Like, I always say, pretend you're a deadhead. Just flail around for a minute, because then you start to let go of the inhibitions. You know what I mean?
Yes. I love that. Yeah. Unfortunately, Toni, our time is up. You and I are really our new best friends. We could talk all day. If my viewers and listeners want to find out more information about you. My viewers and listeners want to find out more information about you and to purchase your book, Embody, Feel, Heal, and Transform Your Life Through Movement, where do they find all this information online?
Okay, so first of all, the book is available where all books are sold. You can grab it on Amazon. I have the Audible is out. It's just an amazing experience. I got the audition, I got the part, I did my own Audible. So it is me, and I'm leading people through movement, dance, and there's invocations and poems and affirmations. So you can find everything about me at journeydance.com, journey dance, like to take a journey, or tonibergins.com. Those are both live, and my Instagram's Toni Bergins, Journey Dance. You'll find them all over. And I guess that's it for how to find me.
Wonderful. My viewers and listeners also know that they can't find this information any other place. Simply go to the show notes at jamesmiller.lifeology.com, and I'll link with Toni Bergins and all of her information. Toni, thank you so much. I have so much fun today. Thank you. I appreciate all your expertise.
Thank you so much. You're awesome. You're brilliant. It's my pleasure.